Fun fact: there's currently hundreds of people working inside of an active volcano. Now, what's astonishing is that you might think that these people are equipped with advanced and high-tech suits akin to these modern-day cave explorers, like this. But no, instead they plunge into the singing heat with nothing more than their everyday clothes with dampened shirts tied to their faces. These are sulfur miners. Now you might find yourself wondering, why are these people willing to stake their lives and breaking their backs every day as their daily routine? Today we'll understand the reasons and the endeavors that sulfur miners face. Now, sulfur is used to create sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is important as it is the world's most commonly used chemical. It's in everything from matches to fireworks and gunpowder to detergent, paper, and batteries. It's even what makes your sugar white, and is a key component in rubber manufacturing and even cosmetic products. However, 98% of the world's sulfur comes from oil and gas refining. These companies are required by law to process it safely, and the sulfur created is very pure, and this purity is needed to make products like fertilizer, where even the smallest amount of contamination can deter the function of the fertilizer. Now today, the sulfur industry is worth around $12 billion and, and is expected to keep growing to $18 billion in 2030. But with most of the sulfur produced by these oil companies, why are still there people mining sulfur? Now before we go any further, you might be wondering, am I the right person to talk about this topic? Well, let me tell you that I've always been intrigued by the sulfur powder that you can buy at stores that is set to deter pests like rats and snakes. The yellowish color and the rubbery feel when you squeeze the bag of sulfur made me think of how it was produced. I then stumbled across an article about this active volcano in Ijen, Indonesia, where people would enter the volcano to retrieve what some people would call the devil's gold, which is sulfur. And I've been diving into the topic ever since to know more about the volcano, and even found a video of an interview with one of the miners at Ijen crater. The first point that I would like to talk about is the hardships that come from being a sulfur miner. From the interview that I have researched, a miner said that he regularly wakes up at 3 a.m. to make his journey to the Ijen crater. He gets up this early because he starts off by riding his motorcycle to the foot of the crater where the roads end, and he starts hiking 3.5 kilometers uphill to the ridge of the crater while pushing his equipment with his cart that he leaves at the foot of the mountain. And the air of the crater, the air inside of the mines can reach up to 38 degrees Celsius. So it is crucial for him to start collecting sulfur as soon as possible before the sun rises. As he descends into the crater with his basket and crowbar, he has to be careful as the path is loose and he can trip and fall into the 1,000 foot deep crater. In the crater, there is a lake of acid that has a pH reading of 0.3, which is similar to battery acid. If it enters the body, it can burn the lining of the digestive tract and stomach, which can be life-threatening. And if the person induces vomiting, it may worsen the irritation and cause more damage to the insides. And if exposed for a long period of time, the teeth can decay, and fallout. Now, the sulfur is formed by hot gases from deep inside the volcano that condenses into the pipe when it encounters the cold air outside. The smoke is necessary for sulfur production, but it can be suffocating for miners and it can cause tightness and pain in the chest if breathed in too much. Now, the license to run the mine is owned by the mining company. However, the miners are freelance contractors and have to pay for their own gear, and many can't afford gas masks. This is why they use cloth and shirts and handkerchiefs dipped in water to keep the sulfur from sticking. There is another type of smoke that is much more dangerous and deadly. It comes from the volcanic gases below the acidic lake. So if the miners see a thin white smoke coming from the lake, they must evacuate immediately. After mining, when the baskets have been filled with sulfur, the miners face the challenge of hiking up the steep walls of the crater while hauling their load. The basket is hoisted up their shoulders and each load is quite heavy. One load can be up to 70 kilograms, and the younger miners are reported to carry around 100 kilograms per trip. The miners would regularly do 2 or 3 trips per day. This causes immense stress to their backs and shoulders. And due to all of the dangers that they face, it would not be too surprising to know the fact that most miners do not live past the age of 50. Now, my second point is on why they do it. As said before, most of the world's supply of sulfur comes from oil and gas refining, making volcanic mines like this relatively obsolete. Yet these miners are still working and earning about $12 to $17 a day, and it's because in this remote part of Indonesia, it's one of the better paying jobs. Most of the locals here rely on farming as a source of income and selling off their produce to make ends meet. But due to the economy of the area, the locals aren't getting as much as they hoped for, mainly due to the fact that the ones buying the produce are the locals themselves, which won't bring much economically. In the interview that I have done my research on, the miner said that he once tried working as a construction worker. He had waited 1 week to be paid, and when he worked as a farmer for a plantation, he had waited 2 weeks to be paid. And the wait was too long for him, and that's why he rather be working one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, because the pay is given immediately once he gives the load of sulfur to the mining company. In conclusion, I think that the job should not be done by anyone. During this time and age, people should not be risking their lives just to be able to feed their family. More job opportunities should be created for the local community at Egen, and the mining company should not be given the opportunity to pressure the miners into working such a dangerous job. Despite that being said, the poverty rate in Indonesia is increasing currently at 9.5% compared to last year at 9.36%. It is much higher compared to Malaysia, where the rate is decreasing from 8.2% to 6.2%. My recommendation to the local authorities at Egen is to create more job opportunities and more financial contributions and awareness, which in turn will boost the local economy. Now that is all for me. Thank you.